Before we get into this video, I want to give a quick shout out to one of my friends, Max, and he owns a channel called Project Posse. Make sure to go subscribe to them, and let's get straight into this.
What's that metronome I hear? Perhaps the end is drawing near. You never hear the shot that takes you down. Out of time, so say goodbye. What is yours now is mine. And I dream broken dreams. I make them come true. I make them for you.
Before we get into this, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Now, let's do this. Number 18, Super Coaster. This kiddie coaster operated from 1953 to 1964. This was a steel kiddie coaster that previously operated at Myrtle Beach. This coaster went straight to Bulmars Park and it turned into kiddie coaster, where it operated through 1964 to the 1990s. This coaster, there's not a lot of information on it, but from what I can tell, it was just a standard kiddie coaster. Number 17, Little Dipper. I didn't really get much information on this. From what it says, it's more of like a small wooden roller coaster that was at Cedar Point. There's not a lot of whole information on this, but yeah, that's basically what happened. Number 16, Wild Mouse. Even the worst isn't that bad. Wild Mouse was a wooden Wild Mouse made by B&A Schiff and Associates. This ride lasted from 1959 to 1963, but there's conflicting information on the Wild Mouse's closing year. A tweet from Cedar Point at the end of 2019 stated 61, while a YouTube video containing the Wild Mouse said it's from 1963. 15, Scamper. This is very similar to Wild Mouse, but this one lasted from 1962 to 1969. A wooden Wild Mouse that isn't really special. Oh well, it was just basically kind of like a rename of the Wild Mouse. Number 14, Broadway Trip. This is not really a roller coaster, but more of a dog ride. Broadway Trip was a transportable roller coaster. It traveled from the German fair circuit from 1959 to 1961, before being relocated to Fun Forest Amusement Parks in 1962. This ride moved from location to location with a full season stop at Cedar Point. The roller coaster was located near the Fantasia Parlor and slide in the 1964 season. It is likely that during most of its time, the scenes were removed too, but since there is no clear source, the other locations are not entered into the database yet. Number 13, the Switchback Railway. The Switchback Railway was a wooden coaster with a height of 25 feet or 7.6 meters and a speed of 10 miles per hour. 16 kilometers per hour. The Switchback Railway was Cedar Point's first roller coaster. It was different in that it didn't have a powered lift hill, so the cars needed to be pulled back to the station by hand. It was one of Cedar Point's first roller coasters, and it's iconic for that. Number 12. Racer. Racer was a wooden roller coaster located at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio, USA. It was also known as the Figure 8 Toboggan roller coaster. It was located on the beach, and from the looks of it, it had a lot of airtime hills, but there wasn't a lot of information on this one either. Number 11. High Frolics. High Frolics was a wooden roller coaster located at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio, USA. It operated from 1918 to 1940. It was another wooden coaster, and it was basically like kind of the same as Racer, but it was a bit larger. Number 10. Dip the Dip Scenic Railway. There's not a lot of information on this one either, but from what I can tell, it's basically the same as the Switchback Railway, but a little bit different. It's the Scenic Railway, so there's not a lot of other stuff to talk about it other than Dip the Dips. Number 9. Little Dipper. There's 2 Little Dippers on here, but I think they're different. Number 8. Cyclone. The Cyclone was the biggest roller coaster that Cedar Point had built at the time. The ride was significantly built for speed. It was truly a special roller coaster. This was a big wooden roller coaster. It wasn't a clone of the Coney Island Cyclone, but it was pretty similar in the way that it was made and that it was interesting. It was a very interesting looking ride, but looked fun, looked pretty cool. That's all that I can say. Number 7. Avalanche Run. Avalanche Run was a bobsled roller coaster. The track was very unique. Trains would race through a flume on this roller coaster. Avalanche Run was built by Intamin AG. Over the years, Intamin would build 5 more of these roller coasters, including La Vibora and the now defunct Alpine bobsleds at Great Escape. Number 6. Wildcat. Wildcat was a steel roller coaster located at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. Designed by Werner Stengel and manufactured by Anton Schwarzkopf, the ride opened to the public in 1979. Cedar Point decided in 2012 to remove Wildcat to allow for expansion in Celebration Plaza, also citing that the coaster had reached the end of its service life. It was dismantled and scrapped. Honestly, I think they should have sold it off. I think another park, probably like Lost Island, would have really liked it. But, you know, that's just what happens. Number 5. Jumbo Jet. Jumbo Jet was a steel roller coaster that operated from 1972 to 1978. The coaster was a prefabricated roller coaster with an electric spiral lift hill mechanism. It was one of the first roller coasters in the world to utilize this particular lift mechanism, and the coaster was also the first of its model type. The Jumbo Jet, like all electric spiral lifts roller coasters, reached the top of its hill by the way of a gently graded spiraling helix before beginning its first drop. Unlike many roller coasters which utilize a chain lift or launch, the Jumbo Jet was propelled with small wheels motors up the incline of the helix. These sort of coasters soon became a very common type of steel roller coaster in the 1970s. They were distinguished from later steel coaster designs that were characterized by their thicker, tubular steel tracks. It's very cool, and I think that they should have tried to keep it, but unfortunately, it's sad that it had to go. Number 4. Mean Streak. Mean Streak was a wooden roller coaster located at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. Constructed out of 1.2 million board feet, or 4,000 meters cubed, of treated southern yellow pine. It was the tallest and fastest wooden coaster when it opened in 1991. Due to many issues, the track was replaced almost every year, and it had its own carpentry staff. It was a big roller coaster that got RMC'd and turned into Steel Vengeance. Number 3. Disaster Transport. Disaster Transport was an enclosed steel bobsled roller coaster built by Intamin at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio, United States. It was notable as being the only indoor roller coaster at Cedar Point, the bobsled roller coaster in the Midwest United States, and the only enclosed bobsled roller coaster in the world at its debut. The name of the ride stems from the rearrangement of the letters Dispatch Master Transport, which could still be seen on the ride's logo in its later years. Before the ride was enclosed, the supports and the outer side of the track were painted blue. This was removed soon after, and it was really sad to see it go. But Gatekeeper is pretty solid, but we don't really know. Number 2. Wicked Twister. Wicked Twister was an inverted roller coaster designed by Werner Stengel and Intamin. It was a second generation double twisting impulse model. Wicked Twister opened as the tallest and fastest inverted roller coaster in the world on May 5th, 2002. It was retired by the park on September 6, 2021, closed on September 7th, and gave over 16 million rides during its lifetime. Sad to see it go, but new expansion is necessary for Cedar Point. Number 1. Top Thrill Dragster is a steel-launched strata roller coaster located at Cedar Point, Sandusky, Ohio. It was designed by Intamin, who subtracted manufacturing and Steketra Manufacturing. The ride opened on May 4, 2003 as the first complete circuit roller coaster to exceed 400 feet in height. It was only one of 2 strata coasters in existence, the other being King Ka as Six Flags Great Adventure. So that is how I ranked all of the defunct rides at Cedar Point. I want to know what you guys think. What is your ranking? And make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and go subscribe to Project Piracy. And also, thank you to everyone who gave me off-ride footage for this video, and I shall see you on the next one. Goodbye.